Vinyl Finds 72. Ta-da! Here I am, sort of back in my zone, back with my records, back with a setup. I'm here today just to do some vinyl finds, a bit more of a standard video. Some of the stuff goes way back to sort of mid-August last year, just because I haven't shown them yet or had time to show them. Basically, this stuff here is recent things I haven't shown that have been picked up in the last sort of... You can hear it creaking. It's really windy today. Wellington is actually the windiest city in the world. It's also the most southern capital in the world, so that's a fact for you. So yeah, it's really windy and it gets quite creaky because a lot of the buildings here are made from wood, not from concrete. Which is good when you have an earthquake because there's a lot more flexibility rather than concrete, which just sort of, because it's so compact, can't really take the strain. I know this now because yeah, we had a really big earthquake, which is the first big one I've experienced. We had that a couple of months ago, and that was really scary. I jumped under a table and yeah, the whole wall was shaking and only a few things fell off the walls, but yeah, it was quite scary. And then it's the aftershocks that go on the days afterwards, and they sort of keep you awake at night, shaking. Yeah, anyway, this has gone off in a completely different direction than it was meant to, as per usual in these videos. As I was saying, yeah, this is stuff that I need to show, stuff I picked up sort of recently-ish. Today I'm going to show you 5 of them. Just keep it short and concise, hopefully. So first up is a record that needs absolutely no introduction really. This is an amazing classic record. What is it? It's the debut album from the Stone Roses, which came out in 1989. Basically a jangle pop Manchester album. It's the template for Britpop, I would say. Iconic artwork, iconic music from Manchester and the scene it helped cultivate. Look at that, it's just an absolutely iconic album cover, painted by John Squire, who is the guitarist in the band. It obviously references Jackson Pollock, and these lemons actually reference what people put over their eyes during like a riot when there's tear gas dispersed by the police. Apparently the acid in the lemon stops or prevents or reduces the damage done from tear gas, which I thought was really interesting. So there we go. So I should say this is actually, I got this on a Japanese bidding website and there wasn't much info as to whether it was an original press or a later one. It's basically an original press. It came out a year later, so it hasn't got the embossed front, but it does have the original labels, which is, there you go, on the Silvertone label. I did have a bootleg of this record, and it was a picture disc, and I saw that it was going for a fair amount of money for a picture disc, and this was, do you guys remember those reissues came out maybe 18 months ago of this record? It was just before that came out, and I sold it for sort of like $60 with the intention of just buying that reissue, because I knew the picture disc didn't sound too great. I'm not really a fan of picture discs, so and then you know the reissue came out, and then I just never picked it up again. And I saw this, and I got it for like a really decent price, so I'm super happy to have an original. Or I think it's a 1990 press, and it originally came out in '89, so I'm super over them, and it sounds really good, like 10 times better than my picture disc. So yeah, geez, I've been talking a fair bit and I haven't even talked about the music yet. I Want to Be Adored, one of the best intros in music. I don't know, just that bass playing and the yeah, you know it. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, I feel like yeah, the first track and the last track, the standouts in this. I'm the Resurrection at the end, and I Want to Be Adored. Great. It's like one of those cornerstone albums. It's like the album. If you want to listen to jangle pop or even bits of Britpop or Manchester, it's It's the album. It's not inspired by, it's not proto, it's this record, and it's a masterpiece. Okay, next up we have this Jazz på svenska, which is, I assume, translates to Jazz in Sweden, by Jan Johansson. So Jan Johansson, I believe, is a bit of a national treasure in Sweden. This is a really unique piano and bass record. Jan Johansson is playing piano, and he's sort of doing takes on traditional Swedish music. It sort of almost sounds like a Christmas album. The playing is really gorgeous, really unique. It sounds very traditional. It sounds like a folk style of playing piano, which may sound really strange. So we have Jan Johansson on piano and George Riddell on bass. So they're basically doing a take on traditional Swedish folk songs, but yeah, they're done with just piano and bass. So the bass will sit softly under the music, and the piano has like a really nice blooming sound, and it's really interesting. It's sort of like the music you're listening to in the dead of winter at midnight or something. It's got this really nice feel to it. Kind of like, it sort of sounds a little bit like, I don't know, this is like probably the most basic example, but like, you know, like the Nutcracker has like a really like sort of like Christmassy traditional, like a bit mischievous sound to it. Like I hear that it's mainly because these are covers of or takes on folk songs, but I get that sort of, I don't know, folk vibe or like classical vibe, even, you know, on piano. It's really interesting. I hope I can get it across to you. So yeah, I really enjoy this. There's some really, really nice playing, and really interesting for me to be able to hear stuff played in this style. Like I'm, as a piano album, it really stands out and it's really unique. So I highly recommend this. So yeah, 1964 on the Megaphone label, Jazz på svenska. All right, number 3, an Emerald City Circus. So this came out in 2009 on Banished from the Universe. Now this is a New Zealand record. It sounds like a Turkish post-rock psych record. It sounds like, you know, there's so many records that come out these days that are sort of like Goat, or like they're just that sort of, I don't know. Maybe I'm just more aware of these bands now, but there seems to be a lot of like psych bands coming out, or rock bands with like world influences. This record came out 10 years ago in New Zealand, and I would have been 19, so this was a really big influence on me. I saw this band live, and this is a record that only 200 copies ever pressed, so it's really hard to get. I did some digging around on some weird parts of the internet and found a store had a copy of this listed, not in their store but on their online store, and I had to dig it out, and I got it for a really decent price. And this is like something that I've been after forever, like before I even joined the vinyl community. You know, I've been in the vinyl community for 4 years now. I just realised that in December I hit 4 years, which is crazy. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this is a really cool. It's like a bit of post rock with Turkish influences and Turkish percussion. It's incredible. It's really cool. Yeah, this is something that I would love the VC to get hold of, and I know everyone would dig it, but it's just so rare and hard to get. So it's really hard. You know, like I feel like it's one of those records that would really, really impress people. It's just coming from New Zealand. It's so hard to get hold of, and it took me so long to get hold of. And the artwork there is completely fantastic. So the cool thing about the vinyl as well is, on the second disc, on the second side, is a improv piece that was recorded in a cave out in Auckland on the west coast in Matiku Beach, and you can only hear it if you have the record. So I know this record inside out. I've had the CD for years. It was really cool to hear something fresh and something I never heard before. An album that I know like back of my hand, you know. So that was really cool. So yeah, oh man. Mark, I know you're watching this. Like you know how good this is. You know how hard it is to get this record. Yeah, over the moon, really. Just yeah, over the moon. Alright, next up, I've been getting into quite a bit of dub and reggae lately. In New Zealand there's quite a big, especially in Wellington, there's quite a big dub and reggae scene. And you just hear it a lot more at bars and restaurants and stuff. And a combination of that and being inspired by listening to The Clash again, and yeah, that's sort of been my intro back into it. Picked up a Steel Pulse record I haven't shown yet. So I'm slowly getting into it. I did pick up this at a record store. Mad Professor Dug Me Crazy. This came out on the Ariwa label in 1982. Ariwa is Mad Professor's own label. So this is a first pressing, and I think this was his second album. Just really heavy, slow dub. Really deep bass in that sort of classic dub style. But the really interesting thing about this is it's got these really strange, unusual electronic effects. It's sort of like he sort of like swivels over the top. You get, I don't know, it's very hypnotic, and it gets into this really cool groove. But then like there's just some really strange electronic effects that sort of spin through it that really get your attention. I find it quite hard to describe reggae or dub because it has a certain sound to it, but it's just really fantastic. I do recognise Barrington Levy as another name on this record, but yeah, for 1982, a UK price I got for a really decent price. I'm super happy with this. I've listened to it plenty of times already. It's really great song of music. There's the label, Dub Me Crazy. There we go. Mad Professor, Dub Me Crazy. A recommendation from me. Okay, last one for today. Why Not by the Marion Brown Quartet. This came out in 1968 on ESP disc. I picked this up from the same site I got the Stone Roses. So this actually came sealed, which was really cool. As a Japanese pressing. So, shall I do a live unsealing? No, I won't do that. So there we go. I actually feel like this should be the cover. I feel like that artwork is just absolutely stunning, as opposed to this, which is very busy and has a lot going on. Especially in sort of the style of ESP, I feel like this is a more fitting front cover. Anyway, that's just my opinion. So, side one of this is a sort of post-Coltrane spiritual jazz thing. It sort of sounds a bit like a Strata East thing, and that's mainly because Stanley Cowell is on the piano, and Stanley Cowell just has that really gorgeous, warm, you know, like how Stanley Cowell sounds. He just adds this whole bass layer to the whole thing, and then everyone built up over the top of it. It's really cool. But yeah, Rashid Ali on drums, and Marion Brown on saxophone, and Norris Jones, a name I recognise. I don't think he had a solo album, but he played on a lot of different things. So yeah, that's side one. Is just really beautiful. I think the track's called La Sorrenta. Check it out on YouTube. It's really beautiful. Yeah, fantastic. And then the second side is a free jazz thing. I'd say it's more sort of avant-garde free jazz. Oh, look at that. A little primer on ESP, all in Japanese. Some great records on there. So yeah, this is really cool, but yeah, definitely a record of two halves. I definitely enjoyed the spiritual side a lot more than the free jazz side. Like sometimes with like free jazz, I sometimes think, do I really need a lot of this stuff? Like probably not. Like there's definitely some BYGs that I feel like are pretty middle of the road for free jazz. Like they're cool, but they're, you know, like they're not outstanding. This is just my opinion. And sometimes you listen to a free jazz record and hate it, and sometimes you can love it. So it all varies. But the second side on this didn't do that much for me. Maybe it was my mind frame, but the first side I really enjoyed it. 5 records I can highly recommend. In my next video I'm going to talk about my new Grado headphones I picked up last weekend. So I'll show you those in a bit of detail and talk about what what I think of them and how my listening experience has changed using headphones. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'll see you all real soon.